Tandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Takshurunnitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovisam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupa Sagrajata Sadhana Raghunatam Vitam Dum Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padasagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamsa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandha Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanusute Devi Pranamami Gati Priye Vanchakapatarubhyasya Kipasindubhya Evata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, so you're welcome. So let's continue from our sloka recitation for those who are prepared to recite. Yes, Mother Angel.
Prabhu, is that 12:8 again?
Yes.
Okay. Chapter 12, verse 8. Niba maya rasva mayi buddhim visaya avasisasi Niba atha ardvana samsaya. Translation. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will lead in me always without a doubt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Mother Nikki.
Okay. Chapter 12, text 8. May eva mana adatswa, mai buddhim niveshaya, nivasi shasi mayeva, ata urdvam na samshaya. Translation. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always without a doubt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So let's continue from yesterday. Quick summary of what we did yesterday. Yeah, Mother Shreya, I want to recite. Please go ahead.
Okay, 12.8 translations. May eva mana anandasva, mai buddhim nivesisyasi may eva, anta udarvam na samsayaha. Translations. Just focus your mind unto me and always engage your intelligence in me. Thus you will always attain me without doubt. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So let's go through the summary together. Mother Nikki.
Okay, Prabhu. So we continued with verse 8 to 14. Yesterday we started there. So we went to like number 13 in the process of knowledge, which is a being detached to happiness and distress, detachment, in connection to happiness and distress. That happiness and distress are concomitant factors of natural life. Okay, so only unbreakable devotional service can help us transcend this misery, this happiness and distress. Okay, the happiness and distress of the world. Okay, that is why we are encouraged to chant all the time when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're miserable, when we're celebrating. We need to chant. Okay, so the next quality that we tackled was being equipoised or being even-minded. That whether it be desirable or undesirable, we need to be equipoised in life. Okay, the next process was unalloyed devotional service or Ananya Bhakti. So we are encouraged by Krishna to follow or engage in the 9 processes of Bhakti. That is why we mentioned chapter 14, verse 26. Okay, that we can only transcend the modes of material nature if we follow the 9 processes of Bhakti. Okay, and then we have the next step here, which is to live in a solitary place. It is also connected with detachment from the general masses. So we should not desire to mix with materialistic men, and we should strive to live in association with devotees. Okay. And then we have 19, which is self-realization. Okay, so once we reach this stage, we know now what is our purpose in life, to be the eternal servant of Krishna. And then after that, we reach the last step or stage, which is understanding the Supreme Personality of God through philosophical search for the absolute truth. And this 20th process is the perfection of knowledge. Okay, so you explained to us that in order to understand really knowledge is we have to first take the first step. And that first step is to learn humility. Okay. And you told us that acquiring knowledge, no, this is in the purpose, right? Acquiring knowledge is like a staircase. So this 20 processes of knowledge is ought to be like a manual for us to take or to follow step by step in order to, in the end, reach the perfection of knowledge, which is to understand Krishna. Okay, and then we went to verse 13. So here we started to discuss the knowable, the Gayam. And here in verse 13, actually, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Prabhu, it refers to us, right? Individual soul. Verse 13.
No. Talking about the super soul.
It talks about the super soul now. Okay. So verse 13 and 14, it talks about the super soul, how it is all pervading. So Krishna is telling us about the unlimited quality of the super soul. It is infallible, right? And it is not like the individual soul who is only temporary, okay? Or not as absolute as him. Now, we were mentioning that after discussing verse 14, actually, we said that you mentioned Chaitanya Bhagavad, a pastime in there where Adutta Acharya was trying to like explain the verse. He was in a lecture of Bhagavad Gita, and he was trying to explain this particular verse chapter 13, verse 14, but he could not explain it to mean like devotion to God. So in order to like repent, he fasted the whole day, right? So at night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to his dream and explained to him that this particular verse refers to devotion to Krishna. Okay, so we ended everything really in, well, you told us that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned us not to listen to the Mayavadi philosophy or philosophers, wherein they believe that they are God, because it will inflate our false ego. So I think the main lesson here really is to learn the 20 processes of knowledge, and to always remember that we are just the servant of Krishna. Okay, Krishna is the absolute personality of Godhead, right? He is supposed to be all pervading, and he has all the opulence in the world. But we shouldn't think that since we are kind of like part and parcel of Krishna, we are also absolute just like him. Okay, so he's a super soul. We're only an individual soul. He is still we are referred to Prabhu, right, in verse 13, like Brahman next to him. So we are subordinate. Is that it?
In verse 13, are you talking about the verse 13 of chapter 13?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, actually that is the beginning of description of the knowable, where you say, I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal, Brahma, the spirit, the beginning. That is, just by knowing this knowable, that is super soul, you become eternal, beginningless, and subordinate. Like, just by understanding this knowable, that is the super soul, you become liberated. That is the meaning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Thank you for that, Prabhu. So that's it. We ended there, Prabhu, and then we discussed like questions. We had a Q&A. So
thank you very much.
It. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Really appreciate your summary. And from we stop at 13. We're going to read 14. We stop at 14. So we're going to continue from 15. Where the Krishna continued to describe the knowable, which is the super soul. And actually, the way Krishna is explaining here, about the knowable, about the super soul, is similar to the knowledge of the Shri Upanishad. If you have studied the Shri Upanishad, you will understand. That is why Bhagavad Gita is considered to be Gita Upanishad. It's like one of the Upanishad. Because the way the absolute truth is being described in the Upanishad is completely different to how it's being described in the Puranas. Okay? Because in the Upanishad, it's more of knowledge. That is why you see, when you are studying Bhagavad Gita, you will not see any story like Krishna talking about the story of a king or talking about the story of a devotee, because it's more or less like knowledge, just imparting knowledge to a devotee. Meanwhile, in the Bhagavad Purana or any of the Puranas, the knowledge is being acquired through stories. Like you hear the story of this king, the story of Prahlad Maharaj, the story of Dhruva Maharaj. In that way, we acquire knowledge by hearing the story of such great devotees. Meanwhile, in Upanishad, it's more of philosophy. And that is what we are hearing more now. So in chapter 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to 18, will be more of knowledge, jnana, just like we explained before. Okay, so let's continue. So in test 15, let's go to 15 now. Krishna continues, Sarvendriya Gunavasam, Sarvendriya Vivajatam, Asakta Sarvabhrishaiva, Nirguna Guna Bhuktricha. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature. This is how the absolute truth is being described in the Upanishad. Just similar way. When you read the Shri Upanishad, you understand what I'm trying to explain here. See, here it says, the super soul is the original source of all senses, yet is without senses. When they say that is why the impersonalists, they misunderstood Krishna's explanation as a person, because the way the Upanishad speaks, he speaks in like kind of a contradictory way. For example, he said the super soul is original source of all the senses, is the source of all the senses, yet without the senses. So they will take the direct meaning that this super soul we are talking about, he has no form, because when they say it's without a sense, it means it's formless. But they cannot understand that what is being said here is without a material senses. The impersonalists cannot translate it like that. They will just take it literally like that. Okay, so let's read the purport.
I read it, Prabhu.
Yes, please go ahead, Mata.
Okay. The Supreme Lord, although the source of all senses of the living entities, doesn't have material senses like they have. Actually, the individual souls have spiritual senses, but in conditioned life, they are covered with material elements, and therefore, the sense activities are exhibited through matter. The Supreme Lord's senses are not so covered. His senses are transcendental and are therefore so called nirguna. Guna means the material modes, but his senses are without material covering. It should be understood that his senses are not exactly like ours. Although he is the source of all our sensory activities, he has his transcendental senses which are uncontaminated. This is very nicely explained in the Svitasvatara Upanishad 3.19. In the verse, Apani Pado Javano Rahita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no hands which are material contaminated, but he has his hands and accept whatever sacrifice is offered to him. That is the distinction between the conditioned soul and super soul. He has no material eyes, but he has eyes. Otherwise, how could he see? He sees everything, past, present, and future. He lives within the heart of living beings, and he knows what we have done in the past, what we are doing now, and what is awaiting us in the future. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. He knows everything, but no one knows him. It is said that the Supreme Lord has no legs like us, but he can travel throughout space because he has spiritual legs. In other words, the Lord is not impersonal. He has his eyes, legs, hands, and everything else. And because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we also have these things. But his hands, legs, eyes, and senses are not contaminated by material nature. Hare Krishna. I know. Continue. Bhagavad Gita also confirmed that with the Lord appears as he is by his eternal potency. He is not contaminated by material energy because he is the Lord of material energy. The Vedic literatures find that the whole embodiment is spiritual. He has eternal form called Sakshat Ananda Vigraha. He is full of all opulence. He is the proprietor of all wealth, the owner of all energy. He is the most intelligent. He is full of knowledge. These are some of the symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the maintainer of all living entities and witness of all activity. As far as we can understand from Vedic literatures, the Supreme Lord is always transcendental, although we do not see his head, face, hands, or legs. He has them, and when we are elevated to the transcendental situation, we can see the Lord's form due to material contaminated senses. We cannot see his form. Therefore, impersonal beings who are still materially affected cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So, yeah, you can see the description very, very clear from what they're explaining. Same thing also explaining Brahma Samhita. Angani yasya sakalendriya vitimanti pasyanti kan. No, it's explaining Srimad Brahma Samhita how the senses of the Lord can perform all the function of other senses. For example, the Lord can impregnate just by looking. The Lord can eat just by looking. He doesn't need to perform this action of the senses like we, the human being. So his senses is completely transcendental, not like ours. So that's why when we take food to the altar to offer the food, the Lord doesn't need to come and eat the way we eat. Just by looking, he can eat the food. And we have seen many times also in the scripture how the Lord honors the food just by looking at the food. And he shows his body that is eating the food. So the Lord, and just like the same thing also mentioned in the scripture, just by glancing at the material nature, the Lord impregnates all the jivas in the material nature. So he can perform, his senses are completely transcendental. They're not conditioned like ours. So that is why it's called niriguna. It's beyond the mode. It's completely beyond, and that is why we cannot understand him unless we transcend the mode also. Unless we come to the Vasudeva Tattva. That's what there's ignorance, passion, and goodness, which is Sattva. But for you to really understand Krishna, for you to be able to understand God, you have to come to Vasudeva Sattva, which is called transcendental Sattva, beyond the mode of goodness. Because even the mode of goodness also is bounded. You are conditioned to happiness and knowledge. But for you to understand the Supreme Law, you have to go beyond that conditioning. So that is why it is mentioned that Atashi Krishna Namadi, Namba Vigrayam Indriyai, Sebo Moke Jiwado Soya Mevas Puratiada. That we cannot understand Krishna with our blood material senses. But by rendering service, which with the Jive Moke with our tongue, by eating prasadam and chanting the holy name of Krishna, then the Lord reveals himself to us. You can only reveal, you cannot say, "Where are you, God? I want to see you." You order him, "Where's God? Where's that God? I want to see." No, you have to purify it. Bhakti says that you have to act in such a way that God wants to see you. On your own, if you want to see him, you cannot see him because it's beyond the mode. It's beyond the material nature. So on your own, you cannot see him. Just say, "Where are you?" But if you can act in such a way that the Lord will want to see you. Just like now, if you're a very good citizen and you have gone to represent your country, is either in sports or whatever, and you perform very wonderfully, then the president wants to meet you and shake you. Well done. Like that. So when you act properly also, and you become a pure devotee of the Lord, and the Lord is anxious to meet you. But on your own, you cannot see him like that. So let's continue. Let's think further description of the super soul. Vair ananta bhutanam acharam charam evacha tukshma twat tat avigiyam durastam chatike chatat. You know, the supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and not moving, because it's up to, it's beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, it's also near and to all. These are just the same description of the absolute truth we find in the Upanishads. If you read Sri Upanishad, you'll find it. Prabhupada also in the purport is quoting the Upanishad also. This is how the absolute truth is being described in Upanishad. Okay, let's read the purport.
Okay, I'll read.
Yes, please.
In Vedic literature, we understand that Narayan, the Supreme Person, is residing both outside and inside of every living entity. He is present in both the spiritual and material worlds. Although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. These are the statements of Vedic literature. Ashino Duram Vrajati Shayano Yati Sarvataha. Katha Upanishad 1.2.21. And because he is always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he is enjoying his full opulence. We cannot see or understand these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness and devotional service can see him constantly. It is confirmed in Brahma Samhita that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see him always without cessation. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 11.54 that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhaktiyatva Ananyaya Shakyaha. Hare Krishna.
Bhakti Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Vajami. So Lord Brahma described in the Brahma Samhita, Primanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochalena. You can only see God with the eyes full of love, in the eye with full of ointment of love, devotion. So with our blunt material eyes, we cannot see him. Just like it is mentioned in this particular verse that the Lord is present outside. He said, Bahir, Anantasya Bhutanam. When we sing every day also, Baye Nisingo, Ridaye Nisingo, Baye Nisingo, Ridaye Nisingo, Bahir Nisingo. The Lord Nishingadev is outside. Ridaye Nisingo. Nishingadev is inside the heart. Ito Nishinga, Lord Nishingadev is here. Parato Nishinga, Lord Nishingadev is there. Yato Yamitato, wherever I go, Lord Nishingadev is there. So the same description is mentioned in this particular verse, how the Lord exists both outside and inside of all the living beings, the moving and not moving, because it's subtle, it's beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, it's also near to all. How can the Lord be so far away and very near to all? That is his omnipotent nature, omnipresent nature. And this transcendental nature of the Lord cannot be conceived with our material mind and senses. Like Prabhupada mentioned, our material mind and senses will seek to act when it comes to the realization of God. Our material mind cannot function because it's beyond our material mind. Our material mind is completely, it's so, minute in understanding this inconceivable, unfathomable nature of Krishna. We cannot even comprehend it. How can we comprehend spiritual form? We cannot. We only aware of material form. But spiritual form, we cannot comprehend, we cannot understand. That beyond the mind. We cannot understand. The spiritual form is beyond the mind. Even the mind, how the mind functions, we cannot even understand. And even by material science, it is mentioned, our mind, we cannot even use up to 5% of our mind. Those who are using 8% of their mind, they are considered genius in this material world. Talk less of When you are able to assess the full potential of the mind, let's say 90%, then you are on the level of the demigod. You see? So even our mind, we cannot even assess our mind fully. Talk less of be able to understand. Even those demigods also still, even though their mind is at full capacity of action, still they cannot even comprehend the Lord. And that's what Prophet mentioned in the purpose. The mind and the senses will cease to act when it comes to understanding the Lord. Only by the mercy of the Lord. Just imagine someone who is very far, far away and is very near. There was one particular story in the Nectar of Devotion about a devotee of the Lord who was very poor, and he was listening to the story about how the Lord can be worshipped in the mind. He said, okay, I don't have means to worship the Lord. Since the Lord can be worshipped in the mind, let me start worshiping him in the mind. So in his mind, every day we sit down. In his mind, he will go and get flowers. He will dress the Lord. He will cook for the Lord. He will get the best vegetables, and he will be cooking the Lord. He's doing all these things in his mind, and he's doing them every day, every day. So one day, in his mind, he cooked a very nice menu, and among it was sweet rice. So he just finished cooking that sweet rice in his mind, and he knows that you cannot serve the Lord hot sweet rice. So he was anxious to know whether the sweet rice has cooled down. So immediately he put his hand in the sweet rice, it got burned, and his meditation broke. So when he opened his eyes, oh, it's not only in my meditation, and the Lord in Vaikuntha was laughing. He was laughing. The Lord was laughing in his abode, in the spiritual world. The Lord was laughing. And Lakshmi asked the Lord, why are you laughing? And the Lord did not mind Lakshmi, did not answer her. And he was smiling to see his devotee, due to intense devotion, he got himself born in meditation. Just to tell you how powerful our mind is. The mind, whatever, see, there's one general saying, if you cannot conceive it, you cannot achieve it. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. That is the power of the mind. Anything you want to do in this life, if you can conceive it, even though it's not very clear, the picture is a little bit blurred, but you can see something, then you can achieve it. But if you cannot see it, if you cannot conceive it at all, then you cannot do anything. That is how powerful the mind is. You see? So the mind is as powerful as that. So just to see, to tell you, person in meditation was cooking, and he actually got himself born in the real life. I've seen sometimes people also sleeping in the dream. They are sleeping in a dream, and there's something is chasing them in the dream. And in the real life, yeah, they're shaking their body on the bed or on the mat, something like that, to tell you how powerful the mind is. You see, but still, no matter how powerful this mind may be, cannot conceive the supreme God, because it's beyond material. It's completely transcendental. That is why we need to purify our senses with devotional service. And that is why he said, Primanjana Shurita Viluchanin. Only by pure devotion, the eyes sleep with pure devotion, you can see the Lord. You can only see when your eyes have become slave with pure love, then you can see that supreme Lord. You can see his beautiful transcendental form, not by our material contaminated senses. So even though he's very far away, immediately that devotee got himself born. The Lord came to him where he was doing his meditation, and immediately took him back home to the Vaikuntha planet. Because he has got perfect, he has become perfected. He's become perfect just by doing meditation that way. So to tell you, even sometimes I see when devotees sometimes will come inside the temple, we pay obeisances. Are we paying obeisances in our mind, or we are just using our body to pay obeisances? Because the obeisances in the mind is stronger than the body. Sometimes people lie down and their mind is standing. They are paying obeisances, but their mind is not with them. Where they are paying obeisances, their mind is somewhere else. So you are not really paying obeisances, because whatever you do with your mind and your body, then is complete. You can just be lying down and your mind is not lying down. And that is why it is said, when you are praying obeisances, you have to say the mantra loud. Because when you say the mantra loud, that mantra will draw your attention to where you are praying obeisances. But when you just lie down, you don't say anything, you may just be lying down there, your mind is somewhere else, just thinking of what you are going to do next. So the mind is very, very important for us to really engage our mind. And we can engage our mind by the power of sound. That is why he says you should chant out so that you can hear yourself And also when you are paying obeisances, you should say the mantra of your guru aloud so that the guru can hear you. In that way, your mind will be drawn to that particular place. I may enter the temple now and I don't lie down, but in my mind I'm praying that davat. Actually, that davat I'm praying in my mind is even stronger than me just lying down. But that does not mean that I'm saying that when you enter the temple, you just pray in your mind and you don't lie down. No. When you lie down, your body and your mind is very good. But just make sure that your mind also is lying down there with you. That's okay. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. Avibhakta chabhuteshu vibhakta eva chastitam uttabatri cha taikyaya gyashneshu brahma vishnu cha. Although the super soul appear to be divided among all beings, it's never divided. It's situated as one. Although it is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that it evolves and develops all. These are the greatness of the super soul. Let's hear Prabhupada's purport, and we can talk more about it.
Okay. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul. Does this mean that he has become divided? No, actually, he is one. The example is given of the sun. The sun at the meridian is situated in its place, but if one goes for 5,000 miles in all directions and asks, where is the sun? Everyone will see that it is shining on his head. In the Vedic literature, this example is given to show that although he is undivided, he is situated as if divided. Also, it is said in Vedic literature that one Vishnu is present everywhere by his om- omnipotence, just as the sun appears in many places to many persons. And the Supreme Lord, although the maintainer of living entity, divorced everything at the time of annihilation. This was confirmed in the 11th chapter when the Lord said that he has come to devour all warriors assembled at Kurukshetra. He also mentioned that in the form of time he also annihilator, the killer of all. When there is creation, he develops all from their original state. And at the time of annihilation, he divorced them. The Vedic aims confirm the fact that he is the origin of all living entities and the race of all. After creation, everything raised in his omnipotence, and after annihilation, everything again returned to the race in him. These are these are the confirmation of Vedic aims. Yato wa imani bhutani dayanti yena jayati jivanti yat pratyanti avisham visanti tad brahmatad vijinasaswa Tatitriya Upanishad 3.1 Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's mentioned here, although the super soul appear divided amongst all beings. Yes, it's never divided. Just a Papa gave a very good example of the sun. The same sun in the morning you will see in Davao, you will see in Luzon, you will see in which are again the name of the different parts of Philippines. I mentioned them. Same sun, not different, not divided. Same sun. I'm very sure also the same sun you'll be seeing in Vietnam at that time. The same sun you will be seeing in Malaysia. The same sun you'll be seeing in which other part of South, maybe in Japan or like that. Same sun, one sun, but you can see it in all the different countries, and that does not mean it's divided. So similarly, also the super soul pervades all. It's in the heart of all of us. And that does not mean that he has been divided. That is what Krishna is trying to explain here. So that is the misconception of this impersonality. They say the Lord has divided himself into his creation, so he cannot remain a whole again. No. By his supreme potency, he can appear simultaneously one and different. That is the supreme potency of the Lord. That is his omnipotent nature. So even though he has entered all the atomic particles of the universe as the super soul in form of Shirodakashai Vishnu, he still maintains his one form as the super soul of the universe as Gabodakashai Vishnu. This is the supremacy of the Lord. That is why He is the supreme personality of Godhead. We cannot understand how this is taking place. We can only try to comprehend it and use this example of the sun. That is the only way we can just have little glimpse of how the Lord is pervading the whole universe, still remain one in one place in His spiritual harmony. And it never divided like that. Just the same sun is appearing in many cities in the whole world simultaneously, still remain one sun in the sky. So the same way, the Lord and divided Himself in the heart of all, but still remain undivided. So to understand this, we need purification. And He say, although He is the maintainer of every living entity, He is to be understood to be the devourer and developed. So it is mentioned also in the Shri Upanishad, Chetanam, Yovidadati Karma. Of among the eternal is the supreme eternal. Among the conscious being is the supreme conscious, and is the maintainer of order consciousness. So the Lord is the one maintaining all the living entity. He is the maintainer. And also in the later verse of this Bhagavad particular chapter, it's going to tell us how it is the duty, what is his duty as a super soul in the heart, as a permitter, as a one who maintains, who permits our action, and who is witnessing our action. That is why he's there as a super soul. He's witnessing us. All what we are doing, you think nobody is seeing you. He's watching you. Don't worry, I'm seeing you. Go ahead. But don't think that no one is seeing you. I'm watching you. Don't worry. Then you want that. Okay, you want that. You sure you want it? Okay, have it. That is what you want. Okay, have it. So he's permitting us, he's witnessing our activities, and he's fulfilling all our desires. And that is why he has been following us as super soul. So that is the Lord. So he's the one maintaining his creation, developing it, devouring it at his, by his own supreme will, like that. Any comment, question regarding this? Okay. Let's continue to hear. Tamasa param ushete gyanam gayam gyanagam redi sarvasa vishitam. So yeah, Krishna continues to say, he is the source of all light, in all luminous objects. He is beyond darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge and is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Now he's describing the full nature of the super soul here. Just hear it. That sun you are seeing in the sky, that I've just as used in the purport, for example, in the last purport, that sun is taking its light from the effulgence of Krishna. That sun light is coming from the effulgence of the body of Krishna. That sun you are looking at is taking its light from the bodily effulgence of Krishna. So that is why, yeah, Krishna is saying, I am the light in all luminous objects. Like the sun, like the moon, Krishna is that light. All those lights coming from him is beyond the darkness matter of unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, Gayam. He is Gyan, Gayam, and is the goal of knowledge. You see? Gyana Gamyam. Krishna is Gyanam, Gayam, and Gyana Gamyam. Is knowledge, object of knowledge, and the goal of knowledge. That is it, the Supreme Lord himself. Okay? So let's read the purport.
I will read.
Okay, please, go ahead, Prabhu.
The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, is the source of light in all luminous objects like the sun, moon, and stars. In the Vedic literature, we find that in the spiritual kingdom, there is no need of sun or moon because the effulgence of the Supreme Lord is there. In the material world, that Brahma Jyoti, the Lord's spiritual effulgence, is covered by the Mahatattva, the material elements. Therefore, in this material world, require the assistance of sun, moon, electricity, etc. for light. But in the spiritual world, there is no need of such things. It is clearly stated in the Vedic literature that because of his luminous effulgence, everything is illuminated. It is clear, therefore, that his situation is not in the material world. He is situated in the spiritual world, which is far, far away in the spiritual sky. That is also confirmed in the Vedic literature. Aditya Vanam Tamsaha Parashdat Shvetvatara Upanishad 3.8. He is just like the sun, eternally luminous, but he is far, far beyond the darkness of this material world. His knowledge is transcendental. The Vedic literature confirms that Brahman is concentrated transcendental knowledge. To one who is anxious to be transferred to that spiritual world, knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart. One Vedic mantra, Svetasvantara Upanishad 6.18 says, Tamha Devam Atma Buddhi Prakasam Mumakshur by Saranam Aham Prapade. One must surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he at all wants liberation. As far as the goal of ultimate knowledge is concerned, it is also confirmed in Vedic literature, Tam eva vidat bhakti mrityam iti. Only by knowing him can one surpass the boundary of birth and death. Sitsatvatara Upanishad 3.8. He is situated in everyone's heart as the supreme controller. The supreme has legs and hands distributed everywhere, and this cannot be said of the individual soul. Therefore, that there are two knowers of the field of activity, the individual soul and the supersoul, must be admitted. One's hands and legs are distributed locally, but Krishna's hands and legs are distributed everywhere. This is confirmed in the Svetsatvatara Upanishad 3.17. Sarvasya Prabhum Isanam Sarvasya Saranam Brat. That supreme personality of Godhead, Supersoul, is the Prabhu or master of all living entities. Therefore, he is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. So there is no denying the fact that the supreme Supersoul and the individual soul are always different. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much. Hare Krishna. So it is mentioned in the spiritual world, there's no need for sunlight. If you open the Bhagavad Gita, it is 15:6. Open the Bhagavad Gita 15:6. We can open it. 15 chapter 15 verse 6. You can read it just for you to get used to the quotes also yourself. That's why I'm asking you to open it. So you can read it if you found it.
1556.
15:6.
15:6.
Yeah,
Okay.
read it.
I have it.
Go ahead.
Okay, that supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
Thank you very much. So that is it. So that is how Krishna is describing his abode. His abode is self-illuminated. How? From the effulgence coming out from the body of the Lord. And this material world is where it's a dark place. Very dark. If there is no sun, there is no moon, there is no sunlight, there's no electricity, then you can understand that this place is a very dark place. Just imagine if there's no sun, there's no moon, and there's no electricity. Everywhere, even in the daytime, everywhere will be dark. Just on a rainy day when there's no sun in the sky, you see everywhere will be cloudy. Because we need light in this universe. So this place is naturally a dark place. It's a dark world. That is why it is mentioned that I was born into the darkest region of this world. This world is a dark place. But my spiritual master opened my eye with the torchlight of knowledge. So we need light. We need torchlight of knowledge also. The light of knowledge. Just like we need light. And sometimes we may be proud of our eyes. Oh, I can see. But without no light, your eyes is useless. If there's no light, the eyes is useless. It is mentioned that because the Lord sees, that is why we are seeing. And the sun is considered to be the eyes of the Lord. So because the Lord is seeing, that is why we can use our eyes. That is why the eyes depend on the sun, on the light to see. Let's say, for example, now they switch off the light in your room. Your eyes become dark automatically. You cannot even see your body, yourself, your hand close to you until your eyes adjust itself to that environment. Then you can begin to pick out things around. If not, everywhere your eyes is useless without light. So everything will depend on light. And that light is coming from the Lord, the Supreme Lord himself. He is the source of all the illumination, both material and spiritual. In his abode, is always luminous. There is no darkness in his abode. Why? Because of the bright effulgence coming out from his body. But this material world is covered. And that is why it's called the abode of darkness. So we need light, we need electricity for us to run things in this world. So the Lord, by his mercy, has given us sunlight. And that is why you see in the Vedic age, when people wake up in the morning, when they wake up in the morning, they pray to the sun god. Om Bhuva Swaha Tasavitre Varayam Vargo Devasadi Mahi Yo Yo Na Prachodayat. So they are offering prayer to the sun god. They are getting blessing from the sun god. Because without the sun god, the sun god, which is Krishna representative, is the one maintaining this universe. Without the sun, there's no food for us. Without sun, we cannot see. Without sun, we'll be all sick. So we need sun to succeed in this material world. So that is why, because of God, in form of the sunlight, that is why this universe is being maintained. Sometimes we think, oh, we are very powerful, we're maintaining everything. No, if there's no sun, how are we going to maintain ourselves? It will be very difficult. Very, very difficult. So we can see the power of God even in the sunlight. And it is knowledge, and is the object of knowledge, and is the goal of knowledge. If you open to Bhagavad Gita 15, 15, it's a very nice one. Somebody want to read it? Krishna mentioned this also there in the 15. If you find it, you can read it.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
That is Krishna. That is Krishna. From me come remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. Is the source of knowledge. Is to be known by all the Vedanta, by the Vedas. This is the compiler of the Vedanta. That is Krishna, the Supreme God. So is Jnana, is Gayam, and is Jnana Gayam. Means is knowledge, is the object of knowledge, and is the goal of knowledge. You see, is all of this together. That is the Supreme God we are talking about. Okay? Any comment, question? Okay, let's.
I have one question.
Yes, of course. Okay.
Whenever I hear these types of verses in the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, or anything, I'm always thinking about Krishna's, super soul, or his existence when not on the material plane, like when we don't see him or whatever, when he's he's doing his thing, and he doesn't need light. He doesn't. Why would these things that we consider in the material world, why would they be part of what would be part of his life? I always wonder what he does for fun other than the pastimes we hear about. I mean, what does God do when he's not doing all the godly stuff? You know what I mean?
Very, very funny question, but it's very nice also. Well, what
Because
is he doing when he's not doing all the godly stuff? That
can
is
we even
why the Lord
comprehend?
does not do, he doesn't need to do all the godly stuff. He has assigned it to people. He's not the one in charge of all this other godly stuff, like you're saying. That is why we have all these demigods. We have 33 million demigods who are taking care of the universe. He doesn't need to deal with all this managerial stuff. He's enjoying eternally in the spiritual abode. His only duty, there was one story also like that I had. So the king has a very intelligent advisor, and he asked him, what is God doing in his abode? It must be boring. What is he doing in his abode? I want to know. And the advisor was very intelligent. He was thinking, how can I convince this God, this king, what the Lord is doing in his abode? He was thinking, what is God really doing in his abode? Okay, let me go and give him myself some time and ask around whether I can get better idea. So he was going home that day. So he met one farmer on the way. So he saw the man, like praying to God and doing his work. So he asked him, what do you think God is doing in his abode? Huh? The king wants to know about it. He said, tomorrow you bring me to the king. I will explain personally to him by myself. Okay? Just bring me to the king. I will tell the king by myself. It's okay. So tomorrow when I'm coming, I will come and pick you. So the following day, they went to the kingdom, to the king's palace. And so the king said, okay, my advisor, have you come with my answer? So what is God doing in his kingdom? He said, my Lord, I've brought somebody to answer your question. Okay. Okay, the intelligent man, what is God doing in his abode? I want to know. What is he doing? I just want to know. And the man said, okay, you want to know what God is doing in his abode? He said, yes. You come down from that your seat first. You come down from that your seat. Come down. Oh, what does that mean? Yes, if you want to know, you have to follow my order. You just come down from your seat. Then the king came down, and the farmer went to the throne and sat down. So what is wrong with you? You want to die? You want to know what God is doing? That is his duty. His duty in his abode is that he's humbling those who are proud and he's elevating those who are humble. Okay? That is what he's doing. Like that. So, it's a funny joke to tell you that if you really want to know about God, you have to really humble yourself. And actually, what God is doing in his abode, that is what we are hearing in that our book, the Krishna book. That is the Lord. There's what they call Asta Kaliya Lila, where the Lord is doing the 8 pastimes of the Lord at different timing of the day. It's eternal pastimes. So all those pastimes, they are going on eternally. So that's what God is doing. He doesn't need to concern himself about this material management. He has assigned this material management to all the demigods. Out of fear of him, it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that out of fear of him, all the demigods, they are carrying their respective duty, they are doing it religiously out of fear of the Lord. The sun is rising in the morning, it rises in the morning, the sun sets in the afternoon, in the evening, out of the fear of God. The rain comes at the season, the summers, all this, everything is going perfectly. The wind is blowing. Because why? Because they want to perform their duty very wonderfully for the pleasure of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what God is doing in his abode is eternally enjoying, giving pleasure to his devotees, enjoying different pastimes with his loving devotee. And that is the same thing we are telling us, that when we become perfect, we can join that eternal pastimes of the Lord in his abode. That is it. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So let's continue. 23, we have 7 minutes more. Okay. We go to okay, we have not read the purport of this one. Have we read it? Yes. Yes, we have read the purport. 19. So here Krishna concluded everything in 19. Iti Shetam Tata Gyayam Gayam Shukta Samasta Sata Bhakta Ita Vijnana Madhavayo Papadhyate. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotee can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Okay? So Krishna is saying, by having full knowledge of the field of activity, knowledge, he mentioned in chapter 13, 8 to 12, that is knowledge. When we are talking about knowledge, we mean that explanation in text 8 to 12 of Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, 8 to 12, that is knowledge. Now knowable, which is Gayam, is what Krishna has just described to us. The nature of the super soul, how he pervades everything, how he's maintaining everything, how he's controlling everything. So Krishna says, if we can understand these 3 things properly, if devotee, only my devotee can understand this thoroughly. So if we can understand this thoroughly, we have full knowledge of this, then we attain this transcendental nature, we become transcendental. And that is how to get liberation from this world, by acquiring this knowledge about the Supreme Lord. Okay. So it's very, very important for us to study Srimad Bhagavad Gita the way we are doing, so that we can have this knowledge, so that we can understand about Chaitra, we can understand about Jnana, and we can understand about Gayam. Because Krishna mentioned here, just by understanding these 3, we can attain to his nature. What is that his nature? transcendental, become transcendental like him. Okay, let's read the purpose.
I'm
Yeah,
ready
I'll
for
read.
both.
Okay.
Go, Mata.
Go ahead, Mata.
Go ahead.
Okay. The Lord has described in summary the body, knowledge, and knowable. This knowledge is the three things, the knower of knowable and the process of knowing combined. These are called Vidyana, or the science of knowledge. Perfect knowledge can be understood by the unalloyed devotees of the Lord directly. Others are enabled to understand the moment see that the ultimate stage, these three items become one, but the devotees do not accept this. Knowledge and the development of knowledge mean understanding oneself in the Krishna consciousness. We are being led by material consciousness, but as on as but as on as we transfer all consciousness to Krishna activities and realize that Krishna is everything, then we attain real knowledge. In other words, knowledge is nothing but preliminary stage of understanding of devotional service perfectly. In the 15th chapter, this will be very clearly explained. Now, to summarize, one may understand that verses 6 and 7, beginning from Mahabhutani and continuing through Chitana, Vritti, analyze the material elements in certain manifestation of the symptoms of life. These combine to form the body or the field of activities. And verse 8 through 12 from Amanitwam through Tatwa Janatnartwa Darsanam describe the process of knowledge for understanding both types of knower of the field of activities, namely the soul and the super soul. Then verses 13 through 18, beginning from Anadi, Mataram, and continuing through Herdi, Sarvasha, Vistitam, describe the soul and the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul. Thus, three items have been described: the field of activity, the body, the process of understanding in both the soul and supersoul. That is especially described here that only an unalloyed devotees of the Lord can understand these three items clearly. So for these devotees, Bhagavad Gita is fully useful. That is the who can attain the supreme goal, the nature of the Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, only devotees, not others, can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the desired result. Hare
Thank you very
Krishna.
much. So now the Lord has explained. How many questions Arjuna asked in the beginning of this chapter?
6 questions, Prabhu.
6 questions, and Krishna has explained how many?
3.
3. So it means that now Krishna is going to explain the remaining 3. Okay. So now here he has concluded about the 3. What are those 3 Krishna has explained so far?
The field of activities, the Gyanam and Gyayam.
Okay. No. What did he say?
Field of activities, Kshetra.
Kshetra.
And then Gyanam, knowledge. And then
Okay.
Gyayam, the knowable.
Okay. Okay. Also, he explained Kshetra Gyan also.
Yeah, knowers of the field. That's true, that's
So
true.
I already explained 4, not 3 actually. Okay. Kshetra, Gyan, Jnana, and Gyam.
Gyayam.
Okay, but here Krishna summarized the 3. That is field of activities, the knowable, and the Gyan.
Knower. The knower.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a soul and a super soul.
Okay. So that is it. So we're going to stop here. So from 20, we're going to continue. Krishna will continue describing about the material energy, that is Prakriti. He's going to talk about the Purusha and the other one. Okay? So we're going to learn more about that from the remaining verses of chapter 13. This chapter 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is packed with knowledge. Knowledge. So much knowledge. Especially when we enter chapter 14, you start hearing more about the three modes of material nature. You'll be surprised. Then you start analyzing yourself. Which mode am I in? Am I in the mode of ignorance? Am I in the mode of passion? Am I in the mode of goodness? You start analyzing yourself, which is very, very important for you. Because unless you're able to analyze yourself, you will not be able to elevate your consciousness. You'll not be able to elevate your modes. Some of us, we are in the mode of ignorance and we think we are pure devotee already. See? Even our devotion service, we are engaging it in the mode of ignorance. Because in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that we can engage in devotion service in the mode of ignorance, we can engage in devotion service in the mode of passion, we can engage in devotion service in the mode of goodness, or transcendental devotional service. So in our neophyte stage, majority of us, we are engaging in devotional service in the mode of ignorance and passion. But sometimes we think that we are already transcendental. Until when we are caught red-handed, then, in this material world, nobody will tell you that it's a thief unless it's being caught red-handed. That is the nature of this material world. Unless you are being caught red-handed, who are you to tell me I'm a thief? Even though if it's a thief, to be fighting you. Who are you to tell me I'm a thief? Who are you? But if it's caught red-handed, oh, I'm sorry. Like that. This is my nature of the material world. So, and also one thing about ignorance is that ignorance looks like goodness. Very close. Actually, ignorance is the opposite of goodness. You like to sleep a lot, you are lazy, you're always procrastinating. Don't worry, we'll get to this when we reach chapter 14. But even though you are under the influence of this ignorance, still you'll be thinking, oh, I'm very wonderful. Don't worry. When we get to chapter 14, we will learn more about this. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, is that why it's ignorance is bliss?
That is why he said like that ignorance is bliss. Because those who are in ignorance, they think actually they are very intelligent. You see? It's like that. Okay. So let us end here. Thank you very much. And we are very grateful. So we continue on Monday. Hare Krishna. Vanchakapataruvyasya, Kripasinubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanevyo, Vaishnavivyo Namo Namaha. I wish you all happy weekend. Hare Krishna.